An ugly first half turned into a beautiful second half. The Rams go to 3-0. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Jack Powell Ford Mineral Wells football show. As the Rams did not look good in the first half, there's no other way to say it. As turnovers, mistakes, penalties, and at the half it was 8-7. But then they were trailing 8-7, I should say, against Eastern Hill. And Eastern Hills, man, that defense, give them credit. They played well in that first half. But in the second half, the Rams scored 21 in the third quarter, 14 in the fourth, and they end up separating pretty good, 42-14. Caden Montalvo, 3 second-half touchdowns, including 2 50-yarders, and that's what put the game away. As the Rams go to 3-0, win on homecoming, and it's an interesting game this week as well, as they're going to be taking on a very underrated Quinlan Ford team, who, by the way, they're 3-0 themselves. And the game's going to be at Choctaw. And it's going to be Thursday night or tonight. Sorry, we had to record one day later than we normally do. Usually I get Coach Worrell on Wednesday, and then I put it up Wednesday afternoon. I'll get it up as soon as I can with this one this morning. But it's going to be a fun experience. And as Coach will talk about, it's kind of like a playoff feel. And that's what you're trying to do. You're going to Choctaw this Thursday, which most likely, if you're playing in the playoffs, as a 4A school, you're going to want to play on Thursday in the first couple rounds, or even through the whole playoffs if you can get it done that way. And you're going to get that process of what it's like to leave and go to the Choctaw Stadium and walk through there in the locker rooms, all that. So when you do make the playoffs, and I think Mineral Wells will make the playoffs this year, you'll know kind of what that's like. And you'll get through that experience. And you're playing a really good team in Quinlan Ford, who was 3-0, man, and they can score a ton of points. 35 in the first game, 56 in the second, 35 last week against a very athletic Spring Hill team out of Longview. So this is going to be a fun one. As always, we're going to be talking to the head coach of the Rams, Coach Cody Worrell, and we do appreciate everybody joining us. We also appreciate Jack Powell Ford for being our sponsor. You can check them out online at jackpowellford.com. Great thing about that is you do not have to go there if you don't want to. Nobody wants to go anywhere anymore. We all want to do everything on the laptop. But let's say you're looking for something and you need to know your budget. Well, you can get pre-qualified on their website without having to use your Social Security number. It's not a hard hit on your credit, but you at least know what you can or cannot afford before you start shopping. And that helps you not waste time. And in today's world where everybody's busy and most of us don't get enough sleep, we're up 19 hours a day, it's a big help when you can do something like that and not waste any time. You can do all that at jackpowellford.com. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's the head coach of the Rams, Coach Cody Worrell, right here on the Mineral Wells Football Show. Do you have a kid that plays sports? Are you yourself a weekend warrior? Then I'm going to tell you something. Check out NeuroGuardPlus.com. That's NEURO GuardPlus.com. It's a mouthpiece that can not only help with concussions, but can dramatically affect the way you perform. And the mission of NeuroGuard is to, of course, reduce the risk of suffering a concussion when participating in any contact sport, military, anything that you're doing physical that you could take a blow to the head. You might want to put in a NeuroGuard mouth guard. And as I said, it not only helps eliminate concussions, it helps you perform better by simply aligning your jaw properly. And that sounds like such a simple thing, but it is so important because it allows oxygen to get to your brain. And when you get oxygen to the brain, you don't have that fog of sports or that fog of war where you get confused. And if you've ever played football, that's a sport where that can happen. Especially, man, you're in there in the trenches and you take a shot to the side and all of a sudden things are spinning. This mouth guard will help you keep focus by, again, simply keeping oxygen going to your brain 100%. Again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com. And if you play sports, if you have a kid that plays sport, if you do something physical, one of the things that Dr. Hutchinson, the creator of this, was talking about was some people will use it when they're doing yard work and when they're mowing and things like that, where they're being physically active because they know it helps align their jaw and it keeps oxygen going to the brain, which also helps your lungs, by the way, when you can have full breath every time as you're performing. So again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball.
Terry Bennett back here on the Jack Powell Ford Mineral Wells football show. Now joined by the head coach of the Rams, Coach Cody Worrell. And Coach, that win last week against Eastern Hills, it looks pretty on the scoreboard, but man, that first half, that was an ugly one.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying, Terry. Man, it was one of the most embarrassing halves of football that I've ever been a part of. Man, we lost 3 straight offensive fumbles in a row, and that's all me. I told our kids I didn't have them ready to go. It was homecoming, and but I was super proud of the way our kids responded in the second half. They came out and essentially dominated the second half, and I was really, really pleased with how they responded. But yeah, I don't want to ever have to revisit that first half again. So,
well, you bring up a good point, though. I mean, we talked about it when you came in as the new coach, and you were trying to build a foundation of winning, and that means you're going to have games where in the first half you're going to look terrible, but it's how you respond in that moment in that second half, and y'all responded great. Putting up 41 points or something like that in the second half.
Yeah, no, they did. Our kids I thought our defense played pretty well the entire night. They converted some fourth downs, some on penalties, some on just big plays. I mean, they had a really good receiver that they throw the ball up to, and he went up and make a play. And it's not that we had bad coverage, so I thought our defense played pretty well the majority of the night. It was just offensively in the first half, between a penalty here, penalty there, but the most discouraging thing was the fumbles, especially 3 in a row. And then, we come out in the second half and, we made adjustments. Our coaches made adjustments, and our kids just, went and played football. And so I was super proud of the way they responded in the second half and came out and dominated the second half.
Yeah, big plays on the ground in that second half. Caden had 3 touchdowns, 2 of them being big hitters. And I wanted to ask you, you talk about you had 3 fumbles in a row. As a play caller, are you afraid to go back to a play when something like that happens in a game, or do you like to go right back to it as soon as you can to get that confidence going again?
No, you want, if it's a kid that needs that confidence, yeah, you want to go right back to them, but we're confident in our kids. They made a mistake. One was Prez. Prez caught a ball in the flats, was trying to make a play, trying to get extra trying to get that extra yard, and the ball just comes out of his hands. And then the second play, I thought his momentum was stopped, forward progress was stopped, but he didn't ever put it on the ground. He just got stripped in a pile. And then the third one was honestly a quarterback. Owen opened up and hit a guy's leg with the football, and the ball shot up behind him. So it was just one of those things where things are going bad and they got worse. And so as a play caller, you just go in there and you've worked all weekend and that week going up into that game. And so you just got to stick with what what got you there and what you believe in the game plan. So I don't think it really affects the play calling near as much. Obviously if a kid's going to keep putting it on the ground, we're going to get another guy in there, talk to that kid, and not necessarily, chewing, but just get his confidence back up. Because you don't ever want that in their head, Don't make a mistake. Don't make a mistake. You just want them to go out there and play football.
Well, and especially fumbling. It's one of those things that it can become psychological really, really quick.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right, this week, now you were homecoming last week. This week it's unique as well. Again, you're on a Thursday, but it's a home game, but you're not playing at home. You're playing at the former ballpark in Arlington, now called Choctaw Stadium. This kind of makes it have a little bit of a playoff atmosphere to it.
It does. Our kids have never been in a venue like that. And I'm saying this as playing a football game in a venue like that. But some of our kids have never been. They don't even know what that stadium is, and so they're going to be big-eyed, and it'll be cool. It truly. I told a guy this morning at our coaches' breakfast that for this is a game where our kids just being in that stadium and our fans, this is a game that they'll remember for the rest of their lives. And I know it's a non-district football game. But our kids don't get the experience playing in those big stadiums, so it's a cool experience for them. and we're really excited about the opportunity to play a good football team in such a nice stadium.
And you're also planting that seed so that if you do reach the goal of making the playoffs and you do have a playoff game at a place like Choctaw or somewhere like that, your guys will have done that and the process is known, and it's going to be old hat by then.
That's exactly right. We just want to give our guys, that was one of the big reasons that I talked to Coach Wallace about this at Quinlan as well, because they're in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
We want to give our kids that taste. And even though it's a non-district game, I don't want to say meaningless game, but it doesn't count to your playoff potential or anything like that. But we want to give them that taste of a big-time game atmosphere to make them more hungry to want to play in venues like that and into the playoffs and big games.
All right, let's talk about Quinlan Ford. They've kind of surprised some folks. They're 3-0. Their offense is scoring a ton of points. They run an offense that you don't see much, and it's a hard offense to defend. When you look at the film, what are your thoughts on the Panthers?
Just that. I mean, their offense is very impressive, man. Coach Wallace and his staff, they do a phenomenal job. Their kids are so disciplined. They're wing tee, slot tee. They get in a bunch of different formations and run a good amount of different plays. And there's motions. One play they're faking three different ways and raising up and throwing the football. So it's just it's going to be a tough time for our kids you try to simulate that in practice. That's the one thing that you can't ever tell your kids, hey, you got JV or you got backup kids out there and they're trying to run through that, but they just can't. They can't make it as real as it is in the game. And so they do a phenomenal job, man. Their quarterback, he's a really good football player. And a lot of times in those offenses, you don't expect them to throw the ball a lot, but they do, and they do it really, really well. The receivers sometimes are running wide open just because of the offense that they're in, and they get behind the defense. But a lot of times the defense has got them covered, and that quarterback's just putting it on the money. I mean, they do a phenomenal job, and our defense has got their hands, or they got their hands full this weekend.
Well, and them on defense, they've given up a lot of points the last couple of games, but if you watch the film, like I know you have, it's their offense scores sometimes so quick. Their defense is right back out there. I think their defense is young, but I think that they have some talent on that side of the ball.
Oh, no doubt. Their defense is very well coached. They're aggressive. They kind of have the same philosophy as us on defense. They're going to bring people, and they got a linebacker, number 11. That's a phenomenal football player. Just reminds you of one of them old school linebackers that you're used to seeing growing up. And he does a phenomenal job. Big kid, but their defensive front as a whole, and you're exactly right. Sometimes their offense is scoring so fast that their defense have to go right back out there all tired, and you can tell that on film. But their defense they do a great job on the defensive side of the ball. And, man, we're just looking forward to, going against, like I said earlier, going against a really good, well-coached Quinlan Ford team.
Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. Terry Bennett back here on the Jack Powell Ford Mineral Wells Football Show. As we thank Coach Worrell for joining us, as he does each and every week. We also have some more sponsorship spots open. If you're interested, just email me, Terry, at s2ssport.com. You can also text me, 469-605-3658. Just say, hey, I'm interested in sponsoring the Mineral Wells Football Show. It's going to be a fun night tonight, I think, at Choctaw Stadium in Arlington. A good team coming in, a good test for Mineral Wells, a good test against an offense, as Coach talked about, in the slot T/wing T that you don't see a lot of times. And Quinlan Ford does it a little different as well because they do throw the ball a little bit more. I mean, they're not going to throw it 40 times unless they get really behind, but their quarterback can throw. And as he talked about, don't look at their defensive scores and think that this is a bad defense. I do think Mineral Wells can move the ball on them, but they've got a linebacking core that's pretty salty, and they're pretty physical. A little undersized on the front. Back end's a little not quite as athletic as they need to be. But as they get more snaps and get their positioning right, you can make up some of those deficiencies. And with that offense, you know, you're not asking them to hold teams to, you know, less than 21 points. You're just asking them to make about 2 or 3 stops a game, and the offense will take care of it for them. So it's going to be a really good battle. And it's going to feel like a playoff game. You got Quinlan Ford coming from the East, meeting in the, you know, neutral site. I think it's going to be a blast. So if you're going out to the game, be safe and have fun and enjoy the game and enjoy the experience. And we'll talk about that game. And we'll also talk about Godly. And we'll do all that next week right here on the Jack Powell Ford Mineral Wells Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media.